So I am excited to just get to set the table for us a little, for our time together. Singing praises to the Lord is always a good way to warm up our hearts and our spirits. And now I just want to give us kind of a context for our time. We're going to hear from a sweet couple from Guatemala as they are here to share with us about the hope that they're bringing to Guatemala and an invitation for us to be a part of that. And this is in the context of Advent. And as you all know, we are going through a four-part consideration. Each of these weeks, Advent is historically, traditionally, the 4 Sundays before Easter. And so we're going through that. And so each week we're going to have I like to think of it as setting the table for why we're gathered, and for us to participate in this in every way. And so we started with despair last time. And as we think about the coming of Christ, as we think about the birth of Jesus, as we look to Christmas, we think about the light, right? And it's often the case that light, the star, right? The angels breaking through eternity and just blasting the shepherds with their brightness and their singing or their shouting or whatever they were doing that profoundly impacted them. We think of that moment. And so light is a great metaphor, and sunrise is a great metaphor for this journey through Advent, which is really just the journey of humanity from complete separation from God in death and fallenness to complete restoration that God intends for humanity to go through by the power of His Spirit through the cross. And so we start in despair. We start in the dead of night. Right? That's where humanity starts. And many of us, we talked about last time, many of us know people that are still in that deep darkness. There is no light. If you've ever been outside on a night where there's no moon and it's cloudy so you can't see the stars, I mean, it is dark. And that's where we start. That's where humanity begins. And then from there, if you think about the night and you think about our progression in the night from the dead of night to sunrise, there's a time of the night called the blue hour. Are any of you familiar with the blue hour? It's self-explanatory. It's that time before dawn when it's not pitch dark and it's just a little bit of light coming over the horizon and in the sky, and it makes everything blue. A deep, dark blue, and you can see silhouettes, you can see shadows. And that is the hope that first comes into humanity. It is what we see from the beginning of Genesis, right? When the curse happens and immediately God says to the serpent, as a part of the curse for what he has done, right, that the seed of the woman will crush his head. And immediately a little light begins to come over the horizon into the deep darkness of Adam and Eve's fall, and they're being pushed out of the garden and out of God's presence and out of His provision and out of the warmth and the love and ostracized and beginning that season of darkness. Already the light, God begins to shine it. And we see this throughout the Old Testament as the prophets time and time again talk about a Savior, talk about a ruler, talk about a prince that would come out of Judah. The scepter will not depart from Judah. We read that a prophet like Moses will arise in Deuteronomy. And it is this vague expectation, this clear and yet not so clear expectation that existed in the world for hundreds and hundreds of years. While humanity continued in the darkness of the fall, God was setting the stage, and there was this hope, these seeds of hope planted and planted and planted. So much so that we come to the time of Jesus. We come to John chapter 4. We come to the woman at the well, this Samaritan woman, not even a Jew, but a Samaritan woman. And she says to Jesus, I know that Messiah is coming, he who is called Christ. When he comes, he will tell us all things. She had that hope, right? She had that hope. She didn't know when, she didn't know how, and clearly no one knew the way that the hope would be fulfilled. But after Jesus reveals himself to be that hope, she runs into her town and she proclaims, come, see a man who told me all that I ever did. Can this be the Christ? And this is the hope. This is what hope does. It comes into the soul, and it suddenly starts to develop a question. Could there be a better tomorrow? Could there be a better tomorrow? Could there be something different for me? Could the darkness really give way to the light? That's the hope of this week, this focus for us in this time of Advent. It is that little glimmer that comes in. It is the predictions, it is the prophecies, it is that takes the darkness and begins to replace it with the light. And like I said last time, it's easy for us to very quickly move through these early stages of the Advent process. I mean, we've been reading Psalm 107, right? Since Thanksgiving, we've been looking at it. And last time we focused on the despair and the hopelessness of some who were this and some who were that. And in Psalm 107, if you read it, you will see this repeated theme. And from that place of despair, they cried out to the Lord, and he delivered them. But do you know that between he cried out to the Lord, or they cried out to the Lord, and he delivered them, sometimes that's thousands of years? And that's the hope place. Why do you cry out to the Lord? Because you have hope that the Lord will answer. And it is in that place that many live their lives. Hoping. Not hoping against hope, not wishing upon a star, believing in the promises of God, and yet they haven't come true. They haven't yet been realized. And they're looking and they're searching and they're waiting. Not hopeless, not in despair, but not yet fully experiencing the light that came at Christmas, and the light that shined in the darkness and crushed the darkness, the light that now lives in us and that we have been called to bring into the world. We are the what of the world? The light of the world. And so we might be the seed, the glimmer of that hope that comes into the heart, the life. And it is the bringing of that hope that is the purpose of the gospel. This is where it begins for us. We don't have to do anything to help people find despair. We don't have to do anything to help people live in hopelessness. That's just the way humanity is without the light. But when we come, the first thing that we do is we begin to bring hope. We begin to introduce people to something that could be different. And it's in that context that I am excited to get to have you here with me. A couple examples of this in a very profound way. Bringing hope, shining light, causing people to ask the question, maybe, could there be a better tomorrow? Could there really be a Savior, a Messiah? And it's amazing that this week we have Wendy and Wampa Rodas from Guatemala, who are full-time in ministry in Guatemala, and Jeremy and Tamara Jenkins and their family next Thursday leaving and going to Indonesia. Both with the same calling that we have, but in a unique way, in a different place. And yet, no less something we can be actively involved in. So, as we continue to think about this hope, as we continue to meditate upon this, let's hear from the Rodas family. Tamara and Jeremy will share also. We'll have opportunity for others to share, to speak, and then we'll pray for them as they go back or on to their new mission. So, Rodas family, would you come up? So it's been really sweet to hear from you guys, to know you. I've been traveling to Guatemala for several years, and in the process, I've gotten to know you and your family. I've gotten to serve with you and deliver food, and just it's been amazing. Yesterday, Wampa did an awesome job speaking in English, sharing his testimony, and just how God got a hold of his life, and that was really cool with some of the guys in the church. And he kind of set the stage, as I will right now, so that you can talk about why you're here and what God's doing in Guatemala and what the opportunity that is before us. You guys have come from a life in Guatemala. You're both native to Guatemala. You both grew up there. When you hear Wendy talk, you won't pick up on any of that reality. Unlike Wampa, she has a gift for English, and she is actually an interpreter. So when I have gone to Guatemala and taught, she often will interpret for me, and that's a blessing. And so Wampa and I speak each other's language about the same. He English and me Spanish, and so we can relate. We can relate on that level. But over the last few years, you've been married now how many years?
8 years.
8 years. Is that on?
I think so. Yes.
Okay.
It's on.
8 years, and in that amount of time, when did you sense the call of God on your lives? How long has that been?
Well, I think that the Lord, first of all, thank you so much for having us here. We feel so blessed to just be here. And as we worship together, it's a great reminder of heaven, how it's going to be when all languages, all people come together and worship the Lord. And we felt so welcomed and so loved in this country. This is not our country, but we love it. And the people, it's a reminder of God's love. And even though we don't share the same language, we don't share the same culture, we are a family in Christ. And wherever you go in the world, there are always people who will embrace you and show you God's love. And so we're just so thankful for that. But I think the Lord started working in our hearts separately even before we met each other, even before we married. We've been married only for 8 years, and you might think, wow, they have old kids. And so the thing is that what happened is that we are a blended family. We were both living outside of we had our lives, and we were making our own decisions without considering God's will for our life. And I had been married, and he had been married as well, and we both had endured difficult situations in our marriages, broken relationships, broken marriages that affected our kids. Daniela, you probably met her in the summer. She She's our daughter too. And so then the Lord brought us together when we probably had no hope, and when we thought, we already tried marriage and that doesn't work. So the Lord gave us hope. And so I started doing ministry without knowing that I was doing ministry maybe, 13 years ago. The Lord, when my marriage failed and I lost everything, the Lord showed me that I was complaining a lot. I felt like I'm a mother and I have these 3 kids, and how am I going to feed them, and I don't have what I need. And the Lord took me to a place in Guatemala where he showed me, stop complaining and just look at what you have and start doing something about it. And so do you want to say something? Oh, and I went to the Guatemala City dump, and for many of you might not be familiarized with that. Guatemala City dump is it's a big piece of land where they bring the garbage of all the city. And before that, not right now, they don't let you go in, but before we were able to go in and minister to the people there, and the Lord started taking me there. And for me, it was a shock to see poverty in a completely different level, because as a Guatemalan, I had experienced poverty all my life. My mother grew up barefoot, and my father and my mother, they both only have a 6th grade education. And they worked really hard to be able to take us through school and to bring us to the U.S. When we were little. We had the opportunity to be here for 3 years. But the Lord brought me there and showed me a woman who was walking in the Guatemala City dump, and she had a baby on her back and another baby on her side, and I could see her from a distance, and I don't know why my eyes were just locked on her, and she stopped and picked something from the ground, cleaned it up, cut it in half, gave half to the baby and half to the other toddler. And for me, it was like a slap on the face. God saying, they are struggling. You're not. And it was like, that was the beginning for me of a call. I said, I have to invest my life. I have to change the way I think and start focusing on myself and start focusing on others. And the Lord brought me through a journey of working with mission teams, translating. This is something that I've always done, translating for teams, for ministries, and it's such a blessing. But for me, that was the call. For Juanpa, it's similar, but in a different context.
Right. Yeah, and it was with helping hands, right? Which is what you have been doing and continue to do. In addition to the things God is doing with you new, you continue to do helping hands. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. There we go. Sorry, my English is so.
It's awesome.
And that time, the Lord put together to us, and we get married, and the Lord started working in us, and He said that we need to do the calling not just for us. It's easy to be just like a candle, just coming like a air, and you don't have more light. But the Lord wanted we can do like a LED lamp, super bright, because we need to have the roots on Him, and we walking in faith with Him. It's really easy this war is worse and worse and worse every single day, but we need to walk with Him. But in that time, I had like a wood shop before, and the Lord bring me to helping. We do like a part-time that we can serve, because we have some workers there. And after that, we always say, we love this. We can do this in full-time. But remember, we're Guatemalans. We don't have like a church. They say, okay, guys, don't worry about it. And
we just had more excuses.
Yeah. I remember the pastors and everybody that serve in Guatemala or Latin America, they don't have a salary. And it's difficult to live there. But the Lord pulled us and say, okay, this is the time.
And so it's interesting because we had a good job. We were doing well in our wood. In his work, he was doing well. And then we had received the call. I think we had talked about it several times. I think the Lord is calling us to do ministry more. And we would say yeah, but when we have enough to make sure that we're going to be able to take our kids through university or just provide for them. We can't go back to the struggles of before. That's always a fear because we're so trapped into the we need this, And so the Lord said, okay, so then you're not letting go, and so I'm going to take it all. And he did. He took the wood shop, it went down the drain, and he kind of grabbed us and threw us into ministry. And then when we were in that situation, it was okay, Lord, you got our attention. What do you want us to do? And it was very confusing for us because we felt in our hearts we're called to be missionaries, but Lord, where? And he was saying, in your own country. That's just doesn't, I don't know how that's going to work. But when we obeyed, when we said, okay, God, here we are. What do you want us to do? It was just the Lord started opening doors for us to serve. And we realized that we're not special. There's nothing special about us. And maybe the Lord is calling someone here. And I think you guys are going to Indonesia soon, and you feel the same way. We don't even understand why the Lord is calling us to do this. There are probably many other people who are better equipped than we are. But he calls you, and when he does, it's, okay, Lord, what do you want us to do? And we are so full of flaws. If you don't think that, ask our daughters. They could give a list of the things that we do wrong. But the Lord he wants to use us. He wants us to be a part of bringing hope to other people. And so we started serving with a bunch of ministries, and that seemed very complicated. But we realized that the Lord, what he wants us to do as locals, as Guatemalans in our own country, is that we create this bridge. You are American, and you are part of this church, and we are Guatemalans, and we can serve together better than if we are separate. And so currently we serve with many ministries. We do pastoral training, we do building houses and drilling wells and food bags, but the Lord has showed us that his intention is for us to work as a church, as a body. You have abilities, I have abilities, and the Lord doesn't want us to work separately, but he wants me to put my abilities in your service, and that we can use each other's abilities to serve God. That's his purpose. And so we do clinic, we do a bunch of things, and the Lord has used that in an amazing way, and we've seen his hope.
Right. And so let's fast forward now to, you've been in the U.S. about a week, and you've been a little over a week and a half probably now, and you're driving all over the eastern part of the U.S. visiting your daughter in Michigan, who's in school there. You were in New Jersey and New York, and now you're here in Wolfboro, and that in part is because there's something new that you have before you, an opportunity and a vision for something in Guatemala that would be even more intentionally that bridge. Mm-hmm. So what is that?
Yes, so first of all, like Juan Pablo said before, we are Guatemalan missionaries, and we seek our own support through the Lord. So we don't have churches or ministries that support us. We raise our own support. So that means that individuals decide that they want to partner with us, that they want to support us, and they give monthly, and that allows us to just be able to do what we do. So that's important. So we need to be doing this constantly, because if not, we can't continue doing it. And then that's one thing. And then the other thing is the Lord put in our hearts a desire and we found a piece of land that is very beautiful and has a lot of things that is like perfect for this vision that he has put in our hearts. And this is, we work with so many teams, and it's so hard to serve the teams without having a proper place to receive these teams. So our desire is to have a mission house where we will receive our mission teams and serve them in a better way. Because sometimes when you go to Guatemala, staying at a place is very expensive. And so we want to lower the costs so it's more accessible for teams. They can pay their food, but they don't really have to pay their lodging. And also we've seen that when we have people come and stay at our house, that it provides a home environment where you are serving, but then you come home and you have a good meal and you sleep and you pray together and we have worship and there's this, because the Lord is going to be working in your hearts. And so you're not just giving, you're receiving from the Lord, and you have to know how to process all that. And so that's one of our desires, that we have the gift of hospitality, I think, and being able to receive people in our homes, feed them, love on them, and do that with our mission teams. That's one thing that we want to do. And
not just Americans who come, which, let me just say that right now, Guatemala is a country, as I see it, on the rise. The gospel has very, very fully been planted and rooted and is growing, and it's affecting every part of society, and the country is on the rise. It's improving. Even in the last 6 years that I've been going, I've seen differences. I've heard of differences. I've seen, and so it is the case now that individual citizens like Wendy and Wampa in Guatemala are numerous that are ready to take the gospel and to make disciples. I mean, from the cities to the most remote village, there are pastors just ready and able to do the work. And all they need is financial support. All they need is money. That's it. They've been trained, they're ready to go, but they don't have the resources. And here we are in the US, and we have the resources. And we don't even need to go and move there anymore, because that part of it has been done. And now families like this are there, and all they need is a little help. I mean, comparatively speaking, it's a tremendous investment. And so we come, and that's to me, that's the primary thing we have to offer, in addition to encouragement. You know, I love going because I love to just be with you guys, encourage you, pray for you, and just make you feel like with you. You know, that's huge, right? And we come, and the teams are a blessing to you as Guatemalans, and you're a blessing to us, and it's this mutual encouragement that happens. So all of that is going on, but you're also focused on the people in the area. And so this mission compound will not just be for Americans or internationals coming in. You are going to train pastors. You're going, talk a little bit about that. Wampa, why don't you talk about it? And just let Wendy translate. Speak in Spanish, okay. and let her translate. That way you can say what you want to say.
Bueno, es más fácil en español.
So it's easier in Spanish.
Sí, en el área ahí vamos a empezar a poder entrenar pastores y
so we want to be able to train pastors.
Y si también iglesias que necesitan hacer como retiros.
And churches that need a place for a retreat.
También vamos a hacer eso, porque realmente si el Señor provee la tierra, no es nuestra.
If the Lord provides this land, it's not going to be our land.
Es de él.
It's his land.
Entonces es para servir a todo mundo, y no solo con la ayuda física, sino con la ayuda espiritual.
And the idea is to be able to serve the people well, and not only provide physical help, but also spiritual.
Que es la más importante.
And that is the most important thing.
Entonces usamos muchas cosas, como decía Wendy.
So we use a lot of things, like Wendy was saying.
Usamos las cosas físicas para poder llegar a las personas y plantar en la semilla y en los corazones de ellos el Espíritu Santo.
So we use the physical need and the physical provision to come and to present the gospel, to present Christ, and to plant a seed.
Y el Espíritu Santo es el que se encarga del proceso de eso.
And the Holy Spirit is the one that does the process of
Y
growing
por
that
eso
seed.
trabajamos con pastores e iglesias locales.
And that's why we partner with pastors and local churches.
Porque nosotros podemos, como somos pocos, no podemos estar dando como que el seguimiento.
Because we're few, we cannot provide follow-up,
Por eso utilizamos a las iglesias, a los pastores que son locales.
but we use the pastors and the local churches, and they are the ones that provide the follow-up.
Ellos les ayudan a cómo leer la Biblia,
They teach them how to read the Bible,
a cómo poder tener un proceso para poder alcanzar y tener esa relación con Dios.
and they teach them how to have a process and continue growing in their relationship with God.
Y también regresando a lo que es la tierra,
And going back to what we were talking about, the land,
es que queremos poder tener no solo como que donde la casa de misión,
so we would have not only the mission house,
el training center,
a training center,
sino, sorry, y también el área donde podamos alcanzar a las personas por medio de la necesidad médica.
and there's also the opportunity to be able to reach people through the medical need.
Porque en Guatemala una situación y una realidad que es,
Because one of the realities in Guatemala is
muchas personas al día ganan menos de $1.
a lot of people make less than $1 a day.
Entonces, si hablamos mensualmente,
So if we're talking about monthly income,
porque allá usualmente se paga al mes,
because usually you pay monthly the things that you need to pay,
las personas primero pagan lo que tienen que pagar,
people usually when they get their
los
money,
recibos, los bills.
they try to pay their bills first, the things they need to pay.
Si alcanza, hay para comida.
If they have some money left, they'll buy food.
Imagínense si también para la salud.
And so can you imagine they won't have anything left for health?
Entonces es algo de que es una gran necesidad física en nuestro país.
So health is a big physical need in our country.
Pero es muy bueno para poder acercarnos a las personas cuando están vulnerables.
And it's a great opportunity for us to reach these people in a vulnerable situation.
And what you mean by health is medical,
Yes.
like medical health care.
Yes.
Yeah.
Medical health care, more like in Guatemala, there's a lot of people that have diabetes, hypertension,
Asthma.
and they have to buy medicine on a monthly basis. And because they don't have the money, they won't buy it, or they'll buy for the month and they'll divide it into 3 months. And we know that doesn't work. So they have a lot of physical problems because of that.
Y la otra cosa también, como en la parte de América Latina,
And in Latin America,
es muy difícil de que hombres lleguen a la iglesia. Aquí miro un montón,
it's really hard to reach the men. Here I can see a lot of men,
pero en América Latina es muy difícil.
but in Latin America it's a very difficult thing
Casi
to
solo
do.
mira uno mujeres y
Y-
jóvenes y niños,
In church you see a lot of women, a lot of kids, and a lot of young teenagers.
pero hombres no mucho.
But you don't see men.
Tenemos un amigo que participó en Desafío sobre Fuego y fue campeón.
So we have a friend who participated in Forged in Fire, and he's a champ.
Y él presenta el evangelio por medio de hacer cuchillos, espadas,
And he presents the gospel while he's forging a knife and swords.
y también es otra cosa que podemos poner dentro de la tierra,
And so that's another thing that we want to be able to do in the land.
que podemos enseñarle una destreza o una habilidad a los hombres
To be able to teach men a skill, a trade.
con el que después probablemente puedan vivir o sobrevivir,
Probably with that they can make a living afterwards.
pero podemos compartir el evangelio.
But be able to share the gospel.
Y sabemos de que nosotros como hombres tenemos la responsabilidad de ser pastores y líderes de nuestro hogar.
Because as men we have responsibility to be pastors, to be the leaders of our houses.
Y eso es lo más difícil en América Latina.
And that's the hardest thing to do in Latin America.
That's awesome. So there's a couple of things then. It's in terms of the need, which is primarily financial, is your family, your ongoing support for you as a family and as ministers of the gospel, tirelessly, as I've watched, tirelessly doing the work there, constantly delivering food and supplies. Wampa, you're driving all the time, all over the country. So there's that, and then also this property, which It's a Guatemalan acre, which is like 1.6 U.S. acres, and it's 330,000 U.S. 325. So land is really expensive in Guatemala. This is not like unusual. This is a normal price for an acre of land. This is really good land. This is fertile land.
You got to see the land.
Yeah, it's beautiful. If you watched my interview with them when I was in Guatemala, I took some video of it, so you can go back into that and see that. But so that's the need. That's what you guys are sharing. That's what we as a church get to have the opportunity to meet, to participate in. And what a privilege it is to get to do that. And thank you guys so much for driving all the way up here to visit us. You know, there's a lot of places you guys could go, and you know, in this big country, and a lot of connections that you have. And so we're really grateful that you came, grateful that your family is a part of our church. And yeah, thank you. Any last words before we move on?
Y estamos muy agradecidos con Dios
So we're so thankful with God
porque nosotros vivimos por fe
because we live by faith,
y cada uno de ustedes deben de vivir de esa misma manera.
and you all need to live in that same way.
Porque no solo es ayuda o necesidad económica,
Because it's not only a economic need,
sino cuando tenemos problemas físicos en nosotros mismos
but when we have physical
o
problems
problemas en nuestros hogares
or problems in our homes
o en nuestros trabajos,
or in our jobs,
debemos de ser luz en la
we
oscuridad
need to be light in the darkness
y tener esa esperanza que Dios nos ha prometido.
and to have that hope that God has promised.
Y aparte de que estamos muy agradecidos con Dios, estamos porque miramos cada día que estamos aquí en Estados Unidos todo lo que Él nos muestra a través de cada uno de ustedes.
And so we're so thankful because we've seen God's faithfulness in everything that He's showing us through the days that we're here in the U.S.
Y estamos muy agradecidos con ustedes como país, con ustedes como Wolfsboro o como cada uno de ustedes de
And we're
americanos.
so thankful with your country and so thankful with this place, Wolfboro, and this church family.
Porque Dios nos manda, si no podemos ir, en primero a orar,
But because God says if we can't go, we can pray,
segundo a dar
we can give,
o ir.
or you can go.
Y cuando pueden ir a Guatemala, pueden servir a veces nos sentimos de que no, yo no soy doctor, no, yo no puedo construir casas, no, yo no puedo hacer pozos, no, yo no puedo entrenar pastores, no, yo no puedo hacer cuchillos.
You got all that, Wendy?
She's good.
So sometimes when we want to go to Guatemala, we say, oh, but I'm not a doctor. Oh, but I can't drill wells. Oh, I can't train pastors. Oh, I can't do all these things.
Cuando tengamos la tierra, hay un montón de oportunidades donde pueden venir y servir y digamos, formar parte del servicio hacia la comunidad, pero en primero sirviendo a Dios.
There are so many ways to come and serve. Serving the community and serving God.
Y si alguien de ustedes se siente que está muy estresado o está pasando problemas acá, puede ir allá, incluso estar ahí un tiempo que Dios le habla a través del tiempo que está en Guatemala y estar ahí sirviendo o no, estando ahí.
And so if you guys need time off and want to go to Guatemala and just take some time and just maybe not serving but just being there and allowing the Lord to work in your heart while you're there, go ahead and do it.
Porque recuerden, esa tierra no es nuestra, es de Él.
Because that land is not going to be ours, it's going to be His and all of ours.
Amen.
And just one little thing for me maybe is that the truth is that we cannot fix Guatemala, or we can't fix the world that we're in. We're not, by the things that we're doing, we're not ending poverty. But we know the truth. We know that all this is it's just gonna pass. But there is an urgency of reaching the people that don't know God. And in the U.S., you see a lot of people that don't need God because they have everything they need. But in Guatemala, you see a lot of people who don't have hope and don't know God and don't think that God would care. If they think if there is a God, why would He want anything to do with me? But so the truth is that we know the truth. We know this is all going to end one day. We know Jesus is coming back soon. We know, we have the knowledge, the truth, and we have the hope. Our job is to share that hope. We can't just keep it. One day we're going to be face to face with him, and I pray that we all hear the words, good and faithful servant. And so we just need to work on that.
Sweet. Praise God. We're going to pray for you guys in a little bit, but for now, thank you. And yeah, it's exciting. So you guys can be seated. You can just set your mic down. Jeremy and Tamara, what do you want to do? Do you want to come up here and join the hot seat and talk a little bit about Indonesia? Do you just have some things you want to share? Whatever you... Okay. It's up to you. Whatever you'd like to do. You can do both. You can do both. It's fine. Let's talk to you guys at least for a bit, and then you have a presentation that you'll have afterward too, and so you can show pictures and stuff then. But yeah, this is cool. It's been sweet to see God bring you into the church, and just kind of out of nowhere. All of a sudden you're here, and now you're leaving, and we have mixed feelings about it, because you've been a blessing, and just it's awesome to get to know you a little bit. So just a little bit about yourselves, and then next Thursday, where you're headed, and yeah, the mic is yours.
For the last 4 years, as some of you already know, we've been missionaries in West Africa, which is where I grew up, because my parents are Wycliffe Bible translators. So I've spent my whole life in Africa, and then when I graduated high school from Dakar Academy, in the capital of Senegal, I went to Alaska Bible College, which is where I met my wife, Tamara. And after we got married, we moved back to Senegal. And for 2 years, our last 2 years spent in Senegal was dorm parenting at Dakar Academy, where I graduated. And so dorm parenting was a need for that school, because there are so many parents, missionary parents, who work out in the villages like my parents did, and they don't homeschool their kids. They worry that their kids are going to miss out on a quality Christian education and friends from their home country who speak their language. And so Dakar Academy exists for catering to those missionary kids mainly. But then there are families who live really far out, even in neighboring countries in West Africa, whose kids can't commute to school, and so they put them in the dorm. So that's why dorm parenting was important in Senegal. But now we've been waiting for months now for our visas to Papua, Indonesia. And we just got them last week, and we have a window of opportunity to get to the country, because the COVID restrictions are changing all the time. And so this school that we're going to is very different. It's trying very hard not to be just another international Christian school. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they're trying to mainly cater to the native kids. And the culture there is very Muslim and animistic, mixed with a little bit of Christianity. And so the result is a lot of kids grow up believing that there is a God, and that salvation basically comes through rituals. So when we found out that we weren't going to have a dorm in Senegal this school year, I was updating my parents on Facebook, letting them know, hey, we might be spending more than just the summer with you in New Hampshire. And I came across this picture of a friend of mine from high school, and it looked like he was hiking through some jungle with some native-looking men, and so I reached out to him and I asked what's going on and what happened with your life after high school. And he got married, he said, and he and his wife are in Papua, Indonesia, at this school. And I thought that was convenient that I just found out about this new opportunity I might have for my family, that God might have for us. So I asked him, do you have need for teachers? And he said, oh yeah, we need teachers, but to be honest, we're desperate for dorm parents, because if you don't know where Papua, Indonesia is, it's the island of Papua New Guinea, and it's the other side of the border. So right next to Australia, you have Papua New Guinea, and then there's like almost a perfectly straight line dividing Papua New Guinea from Papua Indonesia. And on the island, there are more than 850 languages spoken. There's so many different people groups because of the terrain. It's so rough there. They say that one tribe could grow up a mile away from another one and never know that the other one exists, because there's a mountain between them. And so the result of that is all these very isolated and unique cultures within one big culture. And so the reason they need dorms is because it'll take 4 hours for their closest village to hike, for their students to hike to school every day. So we eventually got in touch with the director of the school, and he said, if you guys are willing to come out here, we'll build you a 6th dorm right now. And he keeps sending us pictures now, and it's almost done. And they're ready for us, and we've been ready for a while. We've been packed. We've just been waiting for these visas and for an opening. And I'm so glad it's finally happened, because it's getting freezing cold here.
So Tamara, share with us what the specific, how we can be a part of your ministry, and what you guys, what are the opportunities for us?
So we just became members at this church, and it is also bittersweet for me because is this on? Hi. Did you guys hear any of that? Okay, great. I really wanted to get plugged in with the community here, because we had been looking for a home church while we're stateside, and I'm from Alaska. I know nobody here in New Hampshire except for my mother-in-law and my father-in-law and Jeremy. And so we looked and we're visiting other churches, and we popped into Calvary Wolfboro, and we just felt welcomed right away, and just kind of we kept coming, and we became members. So I was a little sad that we're going now, but I'm also obviously excited. So we are going to Texas on the 9th to visit my parents before we head out, because we'll be gone for about 2 years, or 5, I don't know. We don't know. We're still deciding, I don't know. And then we will take a 32-hour journey to Jakarta, Indonesia, where we will have to quarantine for 10 days. And if you know, we have 3 little kids, a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 4-year-old, who are all energetic. So I think the most you can do is pray for us, because I'm a little nervous about the quarantine time, but it'll be good. We can't go outside. We have to stay in this small hotel room for 10 days, but we will make it. It'll be good.
That's Christmas Day in a hotel.
Ah, yes. So the just kind of speaking for you, correct me if I'm wrong. I look at this as an investment. This is an eternal investment in the work of the kingdom in Indonesia. Partnering with you, investing in your work. There's obviously ongoing partnership need. You're being supported not by the locals, correct? You're being supported by internationals, by a ministry, Christian Missionary Alliance, and individuals, churches can give through that to you guys to support you in your work. And then we also know that you need some things to get there, so we're going to definitely take care of that. The plane, stuff for the plane and things like that. That's easy. But these are the ongoing, and the long term is also the praying for you, staying connected with you, encouraging you, reminding you that we're here and we're thinking of you, and we're with you in it. Anything else? Is that true?
Yes. So we, when we were in Senegal, we were new to. Well, I was new to being overseas, and we felt like the missionaries around us, they had a great support system as far as like community and prayer goes, and we started to wonder, have we just been like partnering with people so they could support us financially, or are we like building up partnership where people can join us in prayer and in, I guess, encouraging us as we walk through this journey of ministry overseas. And so we're going to, in Senegal, it was mostly Muslim country, and so during the holidays you kind of could tell that there was this sense of darkness and hopelessness. And because we're going to a more remote village where most of the parents, they're not Christians, they are animistic believers, so they do a lot of rituals. It's very heavy and dark stuff there that the kids there, they feel, and they are glad that there's a Christian school that exists in the highlands of Papua, because they do want other options to choose from. They want to make their faith their own, and that doesn't necessarily mean they want their parents' rituals. They want to grow more, and a lot of them have become Christians because of this school, which is awesome. And we get to be a part of that now and help disciple them and learn what it means to trust the one and true God only, and that none of these ritual things can take away that hope that they have in God. So we are praying for prayer supporters. That's, I think, our biggest need. I started this email list of people who not only want to be on our newsletter updates, but a more specific prayer group list of things that we can pray for specifically for our family and for our dorm kids that we're going to have, and for their families and their communities. So it won't just be like a few, you can pray for these things and you can praise God for these things, but more like kind of heavier things that you could join us in. And that would be probably the most encouraging thing for us, because right now we only have 10 people that signed up.
Yes. To answer your question, we really are going into a whole new world that we've never been to, and we don't know what we need. There's so many things we don't know, and we have a slideshow for later if you have questions you want to ask. But a lot of our answers are that we don't know, and what we do know is that when we were in Africa, where I'm from, every time we ran into challenges, well, for Tamara, she could lean on me because I was from there, and I was used to it. And when I was in Alaska, I could lean on her because she was from there and I wasn't. And now we're going to this place that neither of us have ever been. And looking back, when if you've met our kids, our second son, Reese, was born with one eye, and we didn't know what to do. The doctors didn't know what to do. And I suddenly realized that it's just so much more, it means so much more knowing that there are hundreds, maybe thousands of people back in the States who are down on their knees with us, praying to the same God. It means so much more to know that than it does to have, the money to take care of a prosthetic eye or something like that, because God's in charge and He's the one who has our backs, and that's true in Senegal, and it's going to be true in Papua. So yes, we're trying to get with the CMA mission now, because the mission that we have been with up until now does a really good job of taking care of the financial aspects of things, but But we've noticed from working with many CMA missionaries that their mission really does a much better job of accountability and making sure that we're being poured into spiritually also, and not just pouring into others.
Sweet. Very cool. Thank you, guys. And they will, along with the Rodas family, be here after service, and so there will be plenty of time to talk to them. You guys you have a presentation that you've put together, so we'll look forward to that. Let's as we prepare for communion, Chris, you want to come up and lead us in prayer for these two families? Rodas, could you come back and just come back up here and just stand right here, and we're going to pray for you, and then we'll have a time of communion together.